Today on the Bird Movie Guy looks at Ben Hur, the original. It's Classic Tuesdays. Yeah, let's get to it. Brought to you by the Bird Movie Guy. Hi, I'm the Bird Movie Guy. Today on Classic Tuesdays, I'm looking at Ben Hur. So, Ben Hur is a 1959 film directed by William Wyler and stars Charlton Heston and a bunch of other people that I'm not going to talk about their names because I'm not. The story of Ben Hur is basically about Judah Ben Hur, who is a Jewish guy in Judea. It's a lot of J's, who is very well off. His family's very well off. He's very well respected. And he, due to circumstances and due to Rome being jerks and Rome coming in and trying to assert their authority over the Jewish people, and the Jewish people didn't like that, and there was rebellion looming, his sister accidentally drops a clay tablet from their roof. It falls and lands on the governor. The guy in charge of the army, who was his friend but was now mad at him because he won't tell him who the rebellion people are going to be, because he's like, I can't betray my people, just, you know. Anyways, he's mad at him, so he kind of like, they're not friends anymore. And so he decides, I'm going to make an example of Judah Ben Hur, because what better person to make an example of than the person who I loved and who's also really well respected in the community. And so he takes him and makes him a slave on a ship, and puts his sister and mother in jail. It's like a heartless guy, man. He grew up with these people, and it's just, yeah, he's a jerk. So the story is all about his journey from being a slave and through God's provision to becoming really high up kind of in the Roman government, almost like, not government, but just he becomes a respected Roman person, basically, and then comes back to Judea and wants revenge on the guy who wronged him. And yeah, that's like, yeah, and there's a chariot race in there. Now, saying that, this movie is epic. Like, literally, when they talk about epics, Ben Hur should always come up, because it should always come up. It's just huge in scope, in like how many people were in the movie, and the scenes that were filmed. There's a bunch of rowing scenes with boats that were pretty epic. And then there's the chariot race, which is super epic. But let's just get to it. The story itself is really, really well told. The story itself is really, really well told. And Charlton Heston is Judah Ben Hur. Man, he freaking rocked. Charlton Heston had some acting chops, and also was pretty ripped. And yeah, that guy, like, I know people kind of nowadays look at Charlton Heston as this, like, in his later life where he was like a gun-toting guy and stuff. But man, the guy could act, and he was really, really committed to a role. I gotta give it to him. He got really skinny, and then he got really buff, and then, yeah, he could act. The rest of the cast acted really well. The guy who played Masala, who's the Roman who betrays him and locks him up, did a good job too. They're both, I'll tell you his name, hold on. Stephen Boyd. He did good. But it's really all about Charlton Heston. And Charlton Heston is great in this movie. Here's the problem with this movie. This movie is great. It's acted well. It looks beautiful. The story is incredible. You got some Jesus stuff in there. First time I ever watched this movie for real, like, I saw it when I was a kid and I didn't understand it. But I saw it a couple years ago and I was like, I had no clue Jesus was in there. Jesus is sprinkled throughout the whole story. Even starts with him being born and stuff, and so it's like it ends with him being crucified. But it's, spoiler, Jesus gets crucified. Sad if you didn't know that. But here's the thing. This movie is epic, but this movie is freaking long. Like, long in not a good way. It's like, it's a very long movie, and I know Lord of the Rings are long movies and stuff like that, but this movie feels long, and it really does. I'm not sure what I would take out in particular. I'm not saying I could have edited it better. I'm just saying it's a very long movie, and that kind of detracts from it, because it just, you feel that runtime. You really do. And yeah, it's just, it kind of hurts the movie as a watching experience. But overall, this movie is a classic. That's what's on Classic Tuesdays. This movie is epic, and this movie should be seen by everyone at least once in their life. Yeah. So overall, I give it 4.5 beards out of 5. I think it's just incredibly well made. Now, there's a freaking remake coming, and someone told me that, and I was like, what? Are they gonna make, like, there's certain movies, like, it makes me just, I don't understand. Why would you remake Ben Hur? And, like, it's one of these things, like, it's like Ben Hur. It's Ben Hur. And they're, like, it makes as much sense as remaking The Godfather. Like, Ben Hur does not need to be remade. It's pretty much fine the way it is. The Godfather should not be touched. Why would you touch Ben Hur? Like, it's just, I'm not saying it's as good as The Godfather. I'm just saying it's classic like The Godfather. It's on that classic level. It has that much respect. And yeah, it's just, I don't understand. And it's funny because I watched this with my daughters who are 13 and 11, and they really enjoyed it. Of course, they complained it was long. And I told them, I said, you guys are going to complain this movie's long, and this movie is long. And they complained it was long. And I understood, because it was, you know what, it's long. But they both really enjoyed the movie. They thought it was really good. So I'm like, guess what? I'm going to show you the trailer for the new one. And they've made Ben Hur into an action film. And yes, this one had some action set point, like, the original had some action set pieces, especially the chariot race. But it's not an action film overall. There's just a few action scenes. They're turning the new Ben Hur into a straight up action film. And yeah, and I showed them the trailer, and my daughters used the word abomination, and I didn't tell them to say that. They were just, that's an abomination. And the tear came down my eye, because I'm just like, I love my kids. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Maybe it'll be awesome. They're like, well, it has Morgan Freeman in it. That's the best part, I guess. But they don't want to see it other than that. Because, yeah, everyone loves Morgan Freeman. Anyways, Ben Hur, classic movie, classic Tuesdays, and yeah, 4.5 beards out of 5. Really enjoyed the movie. Let me know, have you seen Ben Hur? Are you ever gonna watch Ben Hur, or are you being like, nah? Give it a chance. It's one of those movies you probably should see. Like, just even if you love movies, you should see it once in your life. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay bearded. You've been watching Classic Tuesdays, yeah, with the Ben Hur guide. I'm with Ben Hur. Yeah, Ben Hur. Long movie. But very good. Very long. Okay. Just stop before this review goes long. Subscribe and tell your friends. And as always, you have to hope safely.